Commissioners. Let's start off with the Repack Worksheet, if we may. Do you want to speak to that?
Sure.
Or do you want me to take just a moment?
If you want to start it, great.
So if the handout that we had regarding the status of the budget revenues and expenses as defined by the maintenance level items that the board has already approved are on the 2 pages that we have that we handed out. So the first one starts off with revenues. So one material change, or actually 2 material changes in the previous one that we submitted out yesterday was, and or the previous ones prior, was an adjustment to beginning fund balance. So there were no considerations made for unexpended budget authority or unexpected budgeted revenues. So revenues in addition to those that were budgeted. We were projecting somewhere north of about $2 million for each of those. However, we only included $2,500,000 into the beginning fund balance. Again, trying to be conservative in looking at what those numbers have been in the past and where we are year to date. We'll have a better understanding of where we are year to date, obviously, at the end of October. But there's about $2.5 million worth of budgeted revenues in excess, revenues in excess of budgeted revenues, as well as probably $2.5 million worth of expenditures that we're not going to expend in 2019.
So let me see if I understand this right, because I didn't catch that when we were talking. In the 11 million, we have added the unexpended, we have added a guess
Combination, yes,
of the unexpended budget authority into that 11 million.
of $2.5 million,
Where
which
normally
probably would be about 5.
No, I got you. I just didn't have that in my equations. That makes a difference. Okay.
So that's one of the things. And the other was anything that was a PLR in revenue has been moved into maintenance. Anything that we've talked about as increasing in revenue, i.e. yesterday afternoon, has been put in maintenance. So that's where we are currently.
I'm glad I didn't see it
beforehand.
I understand where you're coming from. Just looking at this now. If I'd seen it then, I'd probably been saying everything you said yesterday.
And
wait.
So our projected revenues, excluding beginning fund balance, is about $37,462,000 for budget. Down below that, we have what our reserves are. And the only correction is in the operating reserve, reduce that by $2.5 million and put that $2.5 million into beginning fund unreserved cash balance. So in essence, you have in your cash roughly $2.5 million worth of unreserved available cash.
So that would be taken from the 9.
Correct. Correct. On the expenditure side, again, taking into consideration that we need to do a final double, triple check. The column with the subtotal at the bottom is the final 2020 maintenance level budget as of the close of yesterday's conversation, excluding ending fund balance, which is again roughly about $11 million. We have $37,468,000 worth of expenditures so far, and that puts our surplus or deficit at about par. There's about a $6,000 difference between revenues and expenditures at this point in time in our budget. So that you have kind of a benchmark of where we are as of yesterday afternoon. With that, we'll start in. Diane, do you want to do support services?
Go ahead.
So I take that as a no?
I think it was the pause before the go ahead, that was the no.
You had the cup, where's the cup?
I had it handy, but I didn't bring it in.
I can do support services. So on support services, we don't have any PLRs that you see here within the budget, but we are asking to move Frank from, he's currently budgeted in human resources, and so we thought it would be more appropriate to move, the director out of human resources and into support services. So we're asking to move a total of $169,708 from human resources and into support services. That includes the removal of his cell phone that's paid out of human resources.
Where's that showing?
It's on PLR number 2.
PLR 2?
Yes. And that PLR is included in human resources and in support services, since it's an in and an out.
Support services.
So 090,
It's not on the.
it doesn't show up because it's a net, no.
Yeah, I didn't put it in there because we didn't want to create a new position ask in the budget, since we're not really asking for a new position. So if you approve this, then we will create those lines in the budget and put him into support services.
So it'll be net coming out of the other end
Yes.
of there. Yeah, somehow in the future, I would like to actually see it on the one we're looking at, that's, I can separate the two out if you explain to me at the time what it is. Still, like to see it.
If you turn to the PLR, it's listed on there as a negative coming out of HR
Yeah,
and a positive into support services.
and again, I appreciate everything you're doing, but I use the PLR based on the sheet.
Okay.
If it's not on the sheet, then,
Okay. We didn't want to make it look like the director was coming out of the
I get it.
fund, so thought that might be confusing. So,
And as far as payroll was concerned, in order to put a new position there, it would be defined as an unapproved position, because that's the only way they can add
I get it.
extra positions. So it's an ask to transfer out of HR, the director's position into support services. And that's all there is in support services.
So is that changed? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
What number's next?
HR, Don?
So,
057.
My only change in HR is a PLR request for $20,000, which I did put in for, originally requested $10,000, but then found out that there may be additional retirements or movement in the sheriff's office. The PLR is specifically for public safety testing, to do assessment center testing for not command staff, for corporals and sergeants within corrections and deputies. We have to follow the civil service rules and have that done. And it's about $10,000 for each. You can't combine the two. Right now, we have vacancies in the sheriff's office, in the corrections office, the jail. And there are people who are acting and working out of class because we currently don't have the public safety testing list done. So,
Maintenance, I would agree, please.
okay.
Actually, just looking over there to tell you maintenance.
We're running about this $20,000 each year. In the past, I've done these as supplemental appropriations, but it's becoming an annual thing.
So Kelly, want to reach over to you and say maintenance, just ignore me, okay?
I asked you, can we change that word somehow?
That's the only change I have, other than moving Frank in and out, which is a lot.
Next one is emergency management 050. And Ross?
Morning, Commissioners. Our changes in ours are basically grant changes. From last year, we had 2 Homeland Security grants going at the same time and 1 EMPG. From this year coming up, we have 1 Homeland Security grant and 1 EMPG grant. Pretty close to the same dollar amounts, except for the Homeland Security is about half, because we only have 1 instead of 2. And that's on our PLR page there, where you can see the increases and decreases. We do have a few things that let's see if they're on there. If you look at the professional services, most of that is taken care of through grants, through our grant. And the same with the travel that's marked in red, that's through a grant. Takes care of those too. The facility rental in Public Works, we're given a couple different numbers, but Frank is taking care of that for what the agreed dollars are.
So, the facility rental is $13,440. It had been $9,700, I think is what it was.
1,928.
Yeah, okay. Public Works has reworked their allocation mechanism for the building rental that I wasn't aware of, and so I'm reviewing
I was gonna
it.
say again,
Yeah.
They have to update it annually. And they honestly haven't updated it since 14, what I gather, so they did this year. The square footages have changed, so I haven't had an opportunity to speak with Public Works in regards to how much square footage DEM used to have on their proposal and currently have. So his square footage in the current analysis has gone up, but nothing has changed, so that's my question.
so they're saying that we're not using it anymore, so we need to get that adjusted.
Correct. And I
How much-
think
What percentage, you know?
it's from 9,900 to 13,500 roughly.
But in square footage, they're using?
No, I think where it's changed is their allocation of common area. So what was a common area allocation was much smaller in the old one, and it is much bigger now in the current one. Overall square footage has not changed. It's the allocation of common area square footages. And so I need to just circle back with them to confirm that.
Are you using a coffee spot?
No, I've gained a little weight, I think. That's what it is.
So that's the change. And I haven't had a chance to talk to them about why.
Maybe we should make a note to talk about that when they're in for their follow-up here.
I plan. Well, and that's, the purpose of that is to not allow one fund to benefit from the cost or the expense or the revenue of another fund. Those are road dollars, and we have current expense dollars and different colors of money.
So are you okay with those changes? Okay, besides the,
So what is
Grab the
the,
other one.
Oh, okay. IT
yeah.
and reserve. I'm sorry.
What's the IT?
Yep.
IT number?
Is Fund 500. And the reserve is Fund 119. Now, if you recall, we had just passed a resolution combining those two, which we will do as a part of the function of the budget, but because the budget was prepared back in July, August, we still have 2 separate funds. We're presenting the conversation as if they're 2 separate funds, but ultimately, when we put forward a budget, all of 119 will end up being in 500. So we will have,
Because you're still working.
we will have only Fund 500.
Thank you.
you can have it.
Okay. This one was still work in progress for a little bit. Let's hit the big one first, which is one for a new position for IT. to bring in somebody as a database web tech, beginning level, first step, entry level person that would be helping us with computer replacements and also with the Windows 10 that we are starting to do the operating systems. This is a little bit in lieu of David. David's going to be retiring in 2 years. He's let that be known, and he said that we would like to get somebody in there so that they know our system before it comes down to only having two people knowing what's going on over in IT. We do have enough work for this person. The workload has increased, especially with Outlook, it seems like. That has increased quite a bit. But we're looking at doing the replacement of computers is one of our biggest things. It does take time to set up each one of these computers, take them to the different departments, do switch outs, and then also start doing the troubleshooting because everybody has specialty software.
Now, they have included, if I may, just before you ask, included in the budget is the cost of the computers, which is not an increase. So we've had, we were able to absorb the cost of the purchase. We're projecting to spend about $50,000 on new computers this year. And with this additional body, then we can deploy those computers. That's predominantly what the body is for, is to take basically a computer a week and set it up, get it going, and deploy it, in addition to some supplemental work for the Windows, for the Windows updating systems.
So am I hearing correctly that we hire one person, they would replace one computer a week?
They're probably replacing more than one, probably a week.
I kind of hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
On
the biggest part.
average.
The biggest part of it is the troubleshooting part. After you replace it, you put the general, what we need on it. Almost every department here has specialty software. And we've noticed this in all of them that we have done so far, that there's usually a problem that goes along with that. It's not as easy as just, okay, well, we just download your software and go. There's usually a problem that comes up with it. So we want to make sure that we at least have somebody there who can help work on those things, get them started, because then it brings in one of the other guys to do some of the specialty stuff that needs to be done on the troubleshooting.
I also want to point out that in IT and in Reserve for Tech, the rates are not sufficient to cover all of our costs, and so we are eating into our ending fund
That
balance.
was my question
last
for the
couple
red on
years.
the top, I'm trying to figure
And
out.
these
Yeah.
rates here continue to eat into our ending fund balance, so we can do this for one more year, and then in 2021, we're going to have to increase our rates or do something different, as far as expenditures. So just wanted to point that out.
When's the last time we had a rate change?
Reduction in 2017
Yeah.
of about $110,000
And so we kept with those rates.
To make for the budget cut?
to make for the budget cuts.
So what we did is we just shifted the burden, but it still was there. Okay.
Right.
It's grown back, the burden.
So now, we've been talking about taking on different avenues. One of them was the sheriff's department. Is
That's
that
also
part of
another
this?
one. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me ask you a question on that. Do we currently have a line where we're paying the sheriff's department to fix computers and stuff?
In the rates.
No. Completely separate of the rates. Do they have anything in their budget where they have a line item where we're paying for computers
No,
and stuff?
we don't.
Yes.
Yeah, they used to.
We have a line for computers, we have a request for computers, and we have a deputy that works on those. So effectively, kind of yes, but he also does other work.
So they have a line for hardware. How much was it?
106,000,
Yep. Part of which,
that was our house.
Our ask. That was our ask, not
Yeah.
how much was in there.
No, I got it, and then
Right.
because we had talked about that and said that we need
Yeah.
to make sure.
And there are
that-
some others within the county that had asks
So
that
this,
would go away, i.e. Public Defender's Office,
Yeah.
and I think the clerk had a few.
did you move those into maintenance, or what'd you do with those?
So the 106,000, I left it as a PLR.
Okay,
Or
So they're not
I think it's
included in our
right at
numbers then
100,000, no, and the sheriff did have in their original budget ask, they had put in different IT lines, and Cheryl and I zeroed those out, since the transfer comes out of current expense and into IT and not individual.
so this other
departments.
one, the deputy will go back to being a deputy,
No.
basically, and not being
No.
used for computers?
He's still doing computer work.
There's certain things
Yeah.
that we can't do. We don't touch Spillman, for one thing, because it's not ours, it's not owned by the county. Eric does Spillman for them, any Spillman problem.
Does all the work on the patrol cars, the computer laptops that are in those, takes care of all of our cell phone connections and works with county IT to keep those connections up and running so that we can get dispatched and such. There's a lot of work that he does that is above what county IT does.
Right. We do the jail, basically. That's our portion that we've taken over, is doing a lot of it in the jail, because it's CPU work. It's not mobiles, because we don't have this.
So for now, then, it's 100,000+, but it's already in PLR, so it's not in our bottom line.
Right.
They didn't see what we have in front of us this morning, showing the $6,000 negative difference from income in, income out, with where we're at today, not including PLRs. That's what happened this morning that you heard us talking about. There's still money there, don't get me wrong, there's a way to, that we're looking at some different
It's
options.
still a moving target at
Yes.
this point.
But right now, that's what it looks like, and that's what all the worry was. Okay,
But we still need Eric to perform those tasks on the vehicle stuff right now.
Next PLR?
Next,
Quick question, so
Yes.
if we're getting a new person and we're getting, or your request is for a new person, and we're getting the new computers, isn't the maintenance going to go down because we're getting the new computers?
No.
unfortunately, maintenance doesn't go down. It's one of those, that we even noticed with all the contracts we get, maintenance contracts are always jumping up higher and higher. Basically, you're gonna pay maintenance, even if it's a brand-new computer, there's still maintenance that you end up paying.
I think what she was referring to was the maintenance of repairing the computer.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's actually a great question, because
Yes.
there is a benefit to it, but then we have.
Yes, it should, but every year we're
Yeah.
looking at,
In any
taking
other
it from the
department, that
older
question would have been
computers,
stellar.
and we're gonna still keep trying to do this when we're taking so many this year, so maybe the next year, so maybe the following year, because we have computers that are from like 2008 that are still here that we
We're
need to
still
get
not in
rid
the
of.
20th century.
Well, they
We're
do have
clawing our
sharp
way in.
chisels and the stone is being cut with, but it's, yeah, we're trying to work it. That is part of our plan, our 6-year plan for replacements.
Yeah, and that is a 6-year plan. There's, this would allow IT to go through a cycle of annually replacing about $50,000 worth of computers. And so updating them so that none of the computers at the end of 6 years will be older than 6 years old.
Right. That's gonna be our benchmark. As soon as it hits 6 years, we definitely will replace.
Because some of them now are 11,
Yeah,
10, 11 years old.
EOC for one. But we're taking care of those on the grant. We're gonna use a grant to get those.
One of the things that IT, I know, kind of struggles with is the data storage. I mean, it's expensive, and people are always saving more and more and not deleting anything, and so, we have to pay for that space.
Gotta manage your email.
Yeah.
Well, you have to delete, otherwise just managing it just moves it around. That honestly is a big issue. The storage is growing exponentially. They just bought
A
server
Unitron server.
a year
That's
ago, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
And was
That
expecting to
was a
last.
16-bit. This new one we just got is 60-bit, 60 terabytes.
And that 16,
And it's only gonna last maybe 2 years, 3 years.
it
That's-
lasted
we're doing
half
a
the
lot
life
of
it was
stuff.
expected.
We're putting a lot of stuff, storage of a lot of materials.
So,
Plus with the Laserfish is also taking up some of that space. I mean, you got that coming in too. Because you have to back everything up, so you have to have a redundant backup.
So we would get reminders from,
Go ahead.
we would get reminders from our IT at the ledge saying, it's time, you know, here's how much you have, can you guys do that too?
We are,
So that-
we talked about, yesterday, we had a meeting, and that was one of the things we brought up. I did send out an email yesterday about what's doing with the operator. I said I'm gonna be doing one on a monthly basis. Here's where you're at, and please delete, you know, be kind, rewind, you know, kind of thing.
So, let's just assume staffing stays where it's at right now on
Yeah.
this. What kind of a replacement schedule would be possible?
It would probably be very slow. We would probably get maybe, I'd say,
About where it is currently.
yeah,
Which
pretty
is
close,
very,
because
very
they're
good.
going, they're actually keeping up with tickets. David is, all he does is tickets. They come in for troubleshooting tickets. TJ's more stuck with all the hardware issues that go on. And then, as you'll see with Ben, Ben's got his is almost all the programming and doing anything special, laserfish or anything like that that needs to be made up or needs to be actually sit down and help write programs, that's what he's doing. So to get those done, I'd say you probably would be very lucky to see probably 2 a month getting out. The way
Ben's
things are
also
going.
the munis administrator. He makes
Yeah.
all of the changes
Mhm.
to any new people that are added to munis, deleted from munis, any of that, which I know must take a lot of his time.
So what's not included in here are the cost savings on the other budgets for those computers that they have put into their budgets that would not
No,
need
but
to be.
there is. If she put them into the PLR and did not put them into the bottom line, then it's already
That's correct.
shown as a savings now. But our conversation we had this morning, the cost of the computers, 191,000 could be one of those. It's one-time expenditure.
Yeah, and
Well, I'm just asking you to keep track of it.
Computers are one-time
So
expenditure,
that
yeah.
we can bring that forward later on.
Yeah.
I just need those numbers, and if we keep track of some of those numbers, we're in good shape, we're gonna be good, I think. And I guess she's putting together some stuff that'll help me to understand
Mhm.
better and be able to explain it.
The other thing to keep in mind, and I'm kind of jumping a little bit ahead, the Reserve for Tech Fund is paying for the VoIP software. And next year, it has $50,000 of expense in its fund, which goes away, because we've completed paying for it. So in the 119 fund is a savings in 2021
Okay,
of
2021.
$50,000.
I'd say that's what we could use on this
No,
one.
it's the following year, I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
So to get back, look, I think it would be very hard to get our guys to break away enough time to sit there and do the amount of computers that we need to replace. It's gonna put us farther behind, to tell you the honest God truth. It really will. So,
Commissioner, can I ask another question? It might have implications on his budget, I just want to ask you that. Do you have a problem with that? The only reason I ask, want to bring it up now is because we were notified that our CJIS requirements are secure access to the state. They are now requiring that all our computers be upgraded to Windows 10. We can no longer operate anything below that. A bunch of our computers are. And so I know that the operating systems run through you guys, and I didn't know if that budget, if that was
we've already
budgetary
talked to
cost to
Eric
you.
about getting them over, because Eric's gonna put them into your guys.
Is that going to be a budgetary cost to you for increases?
Is that already in your budget for what you're trying to do?
It was purchased out of this year's budget already.
Okay.
Perfect.
12.
Just for the operating
No, but-
systems.
Right.
But one more question on that, though.
They need to be installed.
Yeah, I need to be
Installed,
saying,
yeah.
what's your time, if that was passed down to you, what is the timeline on that they're saying?
January 1st is when you
January.
have to.
Yes, it's whenever Windows 7 is not supported any longer, so I
Which is
think it's
January
January.
1st.
Okay, so that's when 7 has to go off, but when does everything has to be up to 10? Do we have so you can make sure all that's done for 7?
We're doing that right now,
Yeah,
of course.
but you were saying it has to be up to 10. I'm sure you have some Windows, if you have Windows 7, I'm sure you have some Windows 8. 8 plus.
Oh, yeah.
Or,
Yeah, the Evolve.
what was that other one that was in between that? That was just letters or something like that, yeah. Do you have a date when they're saying that they need that done by? Is that 1 year, 2 years?
One moment.
Okay.
Your question was what?
When does it have to be implemented by?
Will be out, end of life and out of support by January 14th. This means that any agency with Windows 7,
That's
January
7.
14th of 2010.
2010, 2020.
Windows 10.
That's
Sorry.
January.
That's for the 7s, but
Yes.
everything else, if there's a provision where they now have to be brought up to Windows 10, or is that provision that anything that's in Windows 7 must be at least brought into Windows 10? Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Windows 7 has to be brought into Windows. I don't think you have
It
anything.
will not
late.
accept anything below Windows 10.
It won't work on anything below.
Well, then you're still gonna run into that problem where everything must be upgraded to
Right.
10 then.
That's what we're planning.
And so my question is, you know, when's that not come, when's their computer
January
not gonna-
14th.
January
Well, there's
14th.
no way we can get all of them done by that, that's not
They're
possible.
working hard at it.
That's what we're doing with that, because we're gonna help Eric, because we'll be able to do, so, because theirs is the one that's really the touchy one, is because of the CIJC, that
Sieges, yeah.
CGIS is very picky about that compared to out of DM. If ours went on its own, all it means is we don't have any more security updates or anything like that. We could go a couple months without having that issue of changing over to a 10. But theirs, they have to, so we'll be working with Eric, we'll help him do all the ones that are inside, and Eric can do all the ones that are on the mobiles.
I didn't want to open a can of worms, I just didn't know if it had a budget implication.
Well, no, what I was worried about
We
is
already got it,
the
yeah.
employees and the necessary time necessary to make sure it gets in there in
Mhm.
time before it collapses on you.
Right, our guys are gonna have to do it, our 3 that we have right now, we're gonna have to work on doing that. Right, they're gonna postpone what they've got going on right now to, because that's a priority. Thanks,
I
Travis.
got a question for you. If you were to take things like travel and stuff, could that be set up for the future where that is a one-time cost, does not come up automatically in the next year's budget as a maintenance?
Yeah, we-
Travel, training, so that no longer becomes part of the regular budget, but instead one-time cost?
Yeah, we can do
And please keep that in mind also.
that. Okay.
Set it up as option.
So the other one was, the one that's marked number 2, it's for a promotion for a systems analyst. Currently, this is for Ben. Ben is currently a data web tech, which is the beginning opening, low-level, entry-level kind of a person. He has done this, he has taken on a lot more than just what normally would be. He's taken on actually everything that does say for a systems administrator. And including with the Munis, the Laserfish is his. He has taken on the Outlook, which he has learned to regret, but he's taken on the Outlook. But he's taken on all these, and those are specialty softwares that he is dealing with. And that is what a systems administrator
But that's
does.
a reclass that needs to go through the process.
It's not a reclass, this is actually a realignment. His job has changed.
So realignment.
So it would be a position that he had, he no longer performs. There's another position that's in the CBA.
Now, we did that before with the auditor's department by creating that other position, moving them in there. We had to go through.
So this position already is in there.
We have a position that's called systems analyst, or
So you're doing away with
system
one and
administrator.
opening the other? Is that-
And we're gonna open the bottom one, the one that he was at, the beginning level one, for this new person.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And it's,
So, but you already have it, that's the line item, it's already a budgeted line item that you're allowed to put him into. Or you gotta come to us and ask for us to.
It would be a new, he would have to apply, it would be a new position.
right.
So he's a database tech.
Yeah, so that actually
Which is-
becomes the position that we're allowing then, is the upper position, not the lower position. The lower position's already in there. If you're gonna create, if you have a position that not already filled, that doesn't have a budget authority to do, that's when you have to go into that, for the budget, that's your PLR, not,
So currently, Ben is a database web tech, which is managing the database and the website. He has grown into, in addition to that, taking on systems administration for Laserfish, for Outlook, for Munis,
No, I
for,
get all that.
so he's actually doing a different job. And in that, it's not a reclass, well,
Actually, it is.
I'm sorry,
I
it
was
would
gonna
be a
say, no matter what,
reclass.
we gotta make sure we do
I'm
exactly
sorry,
the same
yeah.
as we would for anybody
Yeah,
else.
I'm sorry.
That's a reclass.
I misunderstood, it is a reclass, because he's doing a different
And with
job.
that, it needs to go through a process, just like any other training.
So
that's
put
all
it through
I'm
as a reclass instead of,
saying. Yes.
yeah, okay, good.
Oh, here, okay. Okay, thank you. All right, and the final one is, tuition reimbursement for IT classes. This is when we have kind of used it for the last couple of years. We've used a different line item to pay for this. It's for finishing a bachelor's degree for Ben. He's finishing his. Almost all, it's in information technology is what it's in for. It's mostly software programming, because he's doing more and more programming, because we don't buy anything out of the box that we don't adjust, shift, or completely do something a little bit different. So he needs to understand all those different things that is going on there in order to be able to write the program to get it to do what we want it to do. So he took it upon himself. He's been going for 2 years. So he's got a year and a half left to go. He'll be finished with that program.
Is that something that's in the CBA?
I don't believe it's in the CBA, is it?
It's in the personnel
It's in the
policy.
personnel
Personnel
policy,
policy.
yeah.
Although, I have an idea for all that later, but let's see what it looks like first.
And that will
Would you
hopefully
agree?
be a one-time
Yeah.
cost, okay.
Yeah.
But for the moment, you want to move it into maintenance, because that's what it is, or,
Well, I don't know that that's, in my opinion, I'm not sure that that's maintenance.
oh, if we already say that they have to do it, right?
The
Yeah,
personnel policy
He
qualifies
has
for
to do
it.
it?
yeah.
No, not that he has to do it, but we have it in the personnel policy to reimburse
So we
him.
have to pay them. Or they have
As
to
long as
pay
it's
for it.
directly related to,
How many people are taking advantage of that?
Not, no others. I tried when
Yeah.
I went back to school and it
So
didn't
how do we,
fly.
I'm just
I took
curious.
advantage of it last year, but this year I had enough funding through the new legislative approval for colleging that I won't need any assistance this year. But it qualifies that you have to take the class that is directly applicable to your current position. You have to pass the class, provide those grades, and then anything, if you got any federal assistance or whatever is deducted, and then reimbursement of that. So there's been probably, I know Diane took it years ago when she took a governmental accounting class.
There's been a handful that have done it.
Huh?
Just been a handful that have done it.
Yeah,
And this is generally understood by people that work here that they can take advantage of this?
yeah, a lot of people,
I'm kind of curious to know how, I mean, if it's available and people aren't taking advantage of it, do they know? And
I tell everybody
Yeah.
through HR, I mean, especially if they talk about going back to school or, wanting to further their career or make a lateral move at the county.
and
it
do we
is a
cap it?
resource.
Is there a limit?
There's
Yeah,
not,
Go to Harvard.
there's not,
I got it, as soon as you said it, I seen it.
there's not a cap. I think most people get enough federal financial aid when they go, and that's of course deducted off of what their tuition is. And if you take a student loan, that's on your own business, it's only for the tuition. And 50% of a book cost. So the employee bears some expenses themselves too.
Can we bring that policy to us later to
Sure.
actually look at it for?
Guess I asked the wrong people when I.
I wrote up a whole form so that, because I didn't wanna use it with
Because
somebody
I'd like to
else
see what all
saying,
is available on that too.
"Well, why did you use it?" So,
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see what kind of sideboards around that, I mean.
yeah, most collective bargaining agreements, give an education stipend too, so there's an incentive to get your colleging, because then you get a monthly stipend, where non-union or non-represented employees don't get anything for getting that additional degree.
So on this one, because it's required, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I'd like to revisit that.
Sure.
Maintenance. Thank you.
Facilities.
Yeah, I know.
So, on the IT one, the promotion will come back as a reclass.
Oh, yeah, this last.
And, well, what about the extra
PLR still,
PLR? Okay.
but the PLR is at the low level position.
Great. And then reserve for tech.
What's the difference, I'm sorry? What's the difference between the high level and the low level pay? So it would, instead of 83.6, it would be,
83.6 is the low level pay.
that is the low level
Yes.
pay?
Mhm.
So the PLR wouldn't change?
No. And then the change on the one for the reclass is what, $6,700 change. That's all the change from where he's at to where he could
Thank you.
be. Okay. Reserve for tech. With this. We didn't have, did we have a PLR for that? I don't think we.
There's no change.
Yeah.
Well, it's a huge increase in professional services, and we're dropping these others.
Right, we took 90,000 out of 500, put it over here, because basically it's for all of our maintenance, again, sorry, Kelly, all of our maintenance and all of our contracts for services that are with the Zillogic and all the different servers and that we have.
So what we're doing is preparing to move it over into the 500 fund.
Right.
So the net change, there is none. We're moving monies from hardware to professional services.
Because current years, we've been paying half of it out of one, half out of the other, and then we'll just consolidate it all into one.
I think it will be a lot less complicated once we do this. It'll be less complicated for everyone involved, those paying bills, and you looking at it and setting up the rates, every aspect of it a little bit.
As well as following the exit item recommendation by the state auditor, which was to combine those two. Next, we have facilities.
One of these days we'll have them close together.
One more thing on IT, if you do end up hiring that new position, about 70% of that will come out of current expense and the remainder of special funds, special and other funds, so just something to keep in mind.
Oh, interesting.
that
So what's the current expense hit on that?
it would
70% of the
Yes.
86,000,
be
55,000, 56,000.
about 60,000.
60.
So in the facilities, I have a PLR for, just for the general utilities. I made some calls, they didn't have a number set in stone yet, but they wagged from 8 to 10%, so I did put down like 8% and increase the PUD, natural gas and water. So that's where that PLR comes in at. And we did not add nothing for building 10 on that because we're still under.
At this
on
point,
that.
no. So there's no building 10 increase in
How
that.
are we doing with the guaranteed discounts on the improvements we did with trucks and patrols?
I don't know where we are, I can make that call to
Yeah,
Ann,
let's keep track of that.
see where that is. I know
Money, I
that,
wanna get it, I'd like to see something more than zero in this one.
I know that we got back $10,000 for all the LED lighting we got,
Yeah.
and we should start seeing that number decrease with all the LED lighting. I mean, it's gonna take a little bit of time to see that, but we should start seeing that decrease in lighting for our electric. Because we're using half the lighting electricity now. It was a great deal for us.
By doing that, they guaranteed it, so we get the, so we're getting those savings, if not.
Yeah, we'll need to give a call to the engineers.
Yeah,
They do analysis on an annual basis. I don't know what the cycle is.
and I think that was a 7-year.
No, through the life of the financing.
Paid off early.
So the next one I have is a PLR for our elevator repair. So we have a elevator over in the jail that we just used to put our food cart and our med cart up and down that was not on contract. And so we had to put that on a contract per L&I, or so we got fined. So that's where that number comes in. And the next one right below that is the HVAC repair. I just added an additional $5,000 in there just because we have them getting tired and old. We're doing good. We've replaced 5 or 6 last year and the year past, so we're trying. The commissioners hasn't went out yet, so we're in good shape.
Hasn't been colder in here though.
Yeah, we're just now getting into the cold season, so.
If it goes out, will it get warmer?
Probably.
My next PLR is for operating. I put down $3,500 for cell phones. So none of my crew has cell phones. We communicate through their personal cell phones. So once we do that, then that opens their cell phone up for any kind of public records.
It actually is anyway. If you're conducting business on it, it's on your personal cell phone, it's still.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm saying. So I would like to get them county cell phones so we can conduct whatever I call them or whatever. Well, that is an equipment rental of $850. The reason that I raised that is because we're doing so much more in-house work instead of hiring it done, that I need that equipment to do whatever, to paint that building. I had to rent a machine to do that, and we had to rent machines to tear the carpet up. Well, in the past, we've had a company come in and bid and do that, so we're doing more of that in-house now. So we're saving on the backside of that, but it's gonna cost us a little to do the other. And then below that is just the mail shove lease. That goes up, I can't remember what that was, 3% or exactly, 1,500 overall. And we extended that for an additional 2 years. This one plus 2, so 3 years.
So, and that's a signed lease, so that would be a lease then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and some of the, I'm surprised we have the power and stuff as a PLR, and that's gotta be a maintenance.
In general, that's how we treated it last year, is the utilities increases were maintenance.
And then my
Some of the
last,
elevator repair.
Well, the elevator repair is new, so that's, could be maintenance, but it normally would be maintenance.
I have 3,000, I thought that's the increase over the contract we already have.
Correct.
But it's required, so wouldn't that be?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's just the 3,000.
I would say everything to this point is,
Where is that?
oh, my my best one and final one, I guess, is a decrease. So I no longer have this salary for Ann, the new program support tech. Since I moved on here, I don't have that, so that was a $29,000 decrease on my budget.
So well, the proposal here is to remove a position, a partial position, 0.5 FTE out of facilities and move it into parks. So it's a wash there again.
And that's all I have.
So maintenance on all of those then.
And then
Parks,
146. I'll start with the easy one, which is the one where Kelly left off at. So where Ann was half-time with facilities, will be now full-time with us over at Parks. So moving her salary from her half of her salary out of the facilities, moving it up into Parks. Next one we have is operating cost increase. Some of these probably will be maintenance again, the water, garbage, electricity. All those, like Kelly was talking about his, they've all looking at going up 8 to 10%. We were looking at trackable, or copier, that was also a split between us and facilities. And since facilities is, Ann doesn't use it for any facility stuff, it would go 100% to Parks for the copier.
What do you use that under? Is that trackable tools and equipment?
No,
You have a copy line?
Rentals.
yeah, I have a copier line's right underneath that. Oh, I'm sorry, it should be in. Copier line is.
1,000. Okay.
And then, let's see, trackable tools. We're looking at purchasing some 3 gas-powered weed eaters and a tow-behind groomer. Those have been around for probably I know the weed whackers have been pieced and parted together by these guys for probably the last 3 or 4 years. They're used a lot, and they're worn out. They're not a piece of machinery that, you know I have mine, my own personal one that I use in my yard. It's good for probably about 5 years and it's gone. These are older than 5 years, and these guys use these continually. So I'd like to replace those. And also the field grooming equipment. What they're using to do field grooming, like take it up at Belfair, up at Sand Hill, is chains. Does it do what it needs to do? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Chains do not get rid of rocks. They need to actually have an actual piece of equipment that really does do what it's supposed to do, not something that they made to make do. So we would like to do that, to start making, so it looks a little bit better.
Ross, what's the cost breakdown between the weed eaters and the groomer?
The weed eaters, the still weed eaters, the 3 of those will probably be close to $1,500, and then the rest would be for the tow behind. Because the other one is a tow behind tractor one. And then let's see what else we have on there. The janitorial supplies up $1,000 more, just for the cost of things as things keep going up. We have the 21 parks trying to fill out with toilet paper and everything that's coming up from them. One of the things we're looking at doing also is getting out of whatever we can find it in here, is getting some kind of a power sprayer, because of the vault toilets. Currently, they use bucket and mop. That's probably not gonna make it, that we have to have something that we can use that way. That set it up where it has a 500-gallon tank of water, because most of those are in areas where you don't have running water. So we're looking at doing that. That's part of the janitorial supplies, and maintenance and repairs going up another $2,000. We've noticed this year that we've used a little bit more of maintenance and repairing stuff. Things are getting down that we're soldering on top of solder on top of solder, and it just isn't holding. Things are not holding up as well. We also had some damage this year from some of the tournaments that really caused a lot of damage when it came to like the batting cages, where the kids took bats to actually the arms. Yeah, lovely little darlings. So,
Is there, are we charging
yes,
people for that?
yes. Yeah, that was one of them that, it was a real touchy one though, but yes.
We get about $10,000 in revenue on those.
No, but I mean for damage.
For damage?
Oh,
after.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's, you know which one that was.
Yeah. So we have insurance coverage, but we try to collect what we can from the individuals that's doing the damage. Problem is proving who it was.
Yeah. Who owned the little urchins that did it? You know, that's the hard thing.
And we don't have cameras.
And then the last one on there is uniforms. We wanted to up our uniforms to $700 more. There was an issue over the summer where one of our guys was wearing a t-shirt that did say Parks on it, right here. That's the only place that said Parks. It didn't say nothing on the back. People don't know who they are. We had the same thing with Nick up north, that they don't know who they are, and all of a sudden he starts saying, you can't do this and this, and, you know, these don't show overly well, but if you had something on that did say Parks on it, that was halfway decent. Most of these guys are working, even our summer help are working 5 days a week. You can't give them one t-shirt. You need to give them multiples. And then also, we'd like to get sweatshirts for them too, because it's not always as warm as it is during the summer. They sometimes get into a little cooler area. They still need something big on the back that says Parks Department. They can be seen. And it's also a security thing.
I hate to say it, but with these youth groups and stuff, somebody who's in them for a lot of years, if you don't get it noticed in the very beginning, and once they start to get weird, then there's others that get involved, and it's a bunch of parents, and I think it's a smart move to be bold out front and avoid the first voice. Then they actually will come in behind the person when they see that they're official.
Right.
So weird how that works. We've dealt with it because of the high school, the junior highs, when you have to deal with the parents, if they don't know who you are, it starts about.
So I know some of these on this one will be maintenance, but some other ones are not really maintenance on that. And going on to the next one, this is something that was cut back in 2017, which we're now seeing some issues around it, and that is the turf management system. We currently have some little rodents that are really playing hell with the MCRA, especially Field 1, yeah.
Wow.
They're not pocket gophers, thank God, but they're moles that are really doing a number. And with this, the turf management system, we're also seeing, if you look at the summer, we're putting in the new irrigation for one, because that is kind of drawing. We're using a lot of water, and we know there's leaks, so the new irrigation system should help with that. But it's not a good idea to put in a new irrigation system to try to get it on crabgrass when it shouldn't be crabgrass. You know, they need to get the proper chemicals, and they need to get the proper fertilization to make those fields good fields. Make them stronger and more resilient, because they're being used, I mean, on summer between March and through August, they're used every day. Those fields are just constantly being used. So, and it's not just here. This turf management would also help with the other parks that are out there. Obviously, for up at the 7 up at Sand Hill, you see how brown those are all the time. This would help that. So it was cut back in 17. We're looking at only adding $1,000 to what we already have under operating. We should be able to do that with that $1,000 extra. It's about $7,000 total for the turf management.
I see all that as management, except for maybe the 5,000, which is still probably not necessary. The 5,000 being the equipment.
A one-time purchase.
Right.
I would think, yeah. But I don't know if they want to put that in maintenance right now, or they want to.
Yeah, I would.
So all maintenance.
Yeah, for now, and then.
Okay.
Parks it out.
Yep.
It's in for parks.
Do you want to do Read two, real quick.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
That's 351.
Okay.
Please, somehow in the future, find a way to get them together. The bigger my book gets, the harder it is to get to 351.
You could go to a tablet.
Yeah, I know. Ooh, hard to hold off.
That's fine.
I didn't know that was a bad thing.
It's not.
Okay, we'll start with a decrease, and that is for Russellwood, water maintenance and Belfair Water Waste Reserve. It's a decrease of $370. 370,000, sorry. Cut that down a little bit, sorry, just a couple zeros, sorry. Just a few zeros on that one. Okay. And that kind of goes right hand in hand with, where's the other one? Am I missing one here? Yeah, that one. Oh, right there. That goes right hand in hand with the number 2 there, which is the RCO grant. That's one we just got the grant for $650,000 for the irrigation for MCRA, which it looks like we're going to probably have a little extra money left out of that, and we'll be able to hopefully do some more work on the bathrooms up there, because we haven't been to the bathrooms, they really need some help. So that we're going to hopefully get those. But that was a match that we've already agreed upon through the Board of County Commissioners on it for the match dollars of $325,000 out of REIT. Next one that we have is a various REIT2 eligible planning parks and trails projects that we're looking at. We're looking at probably increasing it. Oh, good, you have that with you. I got it, I think, over mine. And we probably will, I'll get you a copy of this to you guys. It's what we're planning to do for next year for our REIT projects, which is, a lot of them are actually some capital projects that we're looking at, like expanding in MCRA, the restroom updates, like I said, through using some of the grant dollars. We're also looking at putting in a picnic shelter, another picnic shelter. We're also looking at Sand Hill Park, new dugout for Field 3, irrigation overhaul for Field 3. We already did the new irrigation for 1 and 2. 3 needs it. 3 needs quite a bit of work. That's the one that sits a little bit lower on the side with the new ones. And then establishing a planting and control for erosion out there. That's also a big thing, because when they said Sand Hill, they really do mean sand, so we gotta find something that'll actually really work well besides Scotch broom to keep the ground where it needs to be and not get rutted too much. Foothill Parks, we're looking at getting into installing a new stage. They have a stage out there that it's used quite a bit, but I don't think it's very safe. To tell you the truth, there's nothing across the front of it, and then there's a nice drop off for about 6 feet. So we currently put a wood piece across that to keep it for right now.
Are we applying for grants for any of that?
As soon as, yeah, if I find grants for it, I do.
Well, there are for stages and stuff in the artistic world, not in the parks world.
Yeah, that's what I look for anything that's out there for grant wise. I am constantly looking for grants, for dollars for it, to help pay for that, hopefully. Then we have Latimer's Landing. We need to replace 2 of the floats on Latimer's, the last 2 on the dock out there. They need to be replaced. We went through that last year with an engineer and everything. We actually got divers go down and look at it underneath of what the problem is, and floats are missing underneath. So they need to be replaced. So we're gonna have to pull the last 2 off, bring them out, get them taken care of, and then float them back out and put them in. So, let's see, a shelter pad at Union Park, shelter pad leveling needs to be done there. It's cracked in a little bit and just needs to be leveled out. And then Walker Park, we're gonna install another shelter. Walker Park is used very well, it's used a lot. We need to put a second shelter out there. There's currently one that's down toward the water area. We need one that's over on the other side, closer to the basketball court. So we have two, we can have two events running at the same time. So that, we looked at that, and adding the material cost and the labor hours comes to $613,636. That's an estimate at average.
And 25 cents.
Well, yes, but that's at $33 an hour average for our guys to do this. So I will get this to you, a copy of that. And then the final one. This one is various revenue changes. Can you help me out on that one, Jen?
Yeah, this one is really just maintenance. It's moving, the excise tax up to 1.2 million from the odd 117,467 what it was. Moving the interest to the correct bars line and increasing that a little bit to more appropriately represent what we're receiving. And then the miscellaneous other revenue, I think that was a grant that was stuck in that line, so we're just removing that. Are you guys thinking of?
No, I'm on 350.
Oh,
Okay,
so
pretty good.
so are all those
Maintenance.
changes okay?
Maintenance.
And in REIT 2, or you're okay with those, we can move them over to maintenance? Okay, great.
So the next one is REIT.
3-1, number 350. So what we got in 3-1 is basically the judicial improvements, so the building 10 type of thing. That's where we stuck all right now, and hopefully we're gonna get a roof on that right away, hopefully. As soon as, winter gets over and hopefully get started doing something there. And then the second one, Jen, if you could help that one out too, it's just the various revenue changes.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing as on REIT 2, just moving the revenue to make it more appropriate for what we, actually receive. I think that's clearly maintenance, so if you agree, you can move that over and move on.
And that's all we have.
Commissioners, any questions for them before?
Thank you.